Arithmetic sequences is when you're adding the same number every time or you're subtracting the same number every time. The other one is geometric. That's when you're multiplying, okay? So we have an ordered list of numbers where the same constant is added to the previous term from the next term. So we have a difference here of what every time, you guys? Right, so we're adding 3, we're adding 3, we're adding 3, and we're adding 3. And this one's difference every time is what? Right, we're subtracting 4, subtracting 4, subtracting 4. So if we're starting with 7, the second term in this particular sequence for A right here is 7 plus 3, right? So the second term, you only add the difference one time. To find the third term, that would be this one right here, we do 7 plus 3 plus 3. To find the fourth term, that would be this term here, we do 7 plus 3 plus 3 plus 3. To find the fifth term, we do 7 plus 3 plus 3 plus 3. So how many differences did we add to this first one? Yeah, we took the first number, whatever the first number is, we say a sub 1, and we add the difference, 3 is the difference, one time. To get the next number, we have a1, and we add the difference of 3, how many times? Twice. Yeah, I should put 2d. That's what I want to put. Boop, boop, boop. Okay, and this next one, we'd start with the first term, and we add our common difference how many times? 3 times. So plus 3d, 3 times. Okay, and the next one, if it's the fifth term, we add our common difference 4 times. So this is our formula for any arithmetic sequence. So a sub n is the value of the nth term, so that's the value of, say, the 10th term or the 11th term. A sub 1 is the value of the first term. N is the term number that you're on, so this is n right here, the 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5. And d is the common difference. So for part B, you guys, what would we fill in all these blanks? Yeah, just a negative 4 on every single one of these. All right, using the formula above, write the first 4 terms of an arithmetic sequence whose first term is negative 14 and whose common difference is 10, using the formula above. So we can start with A1, and we already know what it is. It says the first term is negative 14. So you don't need the formula for A1, all right? But I want you guys to show the work for the formulas for A2, A3, and A4. So I'm going to find A2. Using this formula. So a sub 2 means the second term. I'm going to substitute in a1. What should I plug in for a1? 14. Good, negative 14. Plus, n is the term number that we're finding. We are finding the second term. So I'm going to put a 2 in for n. And our common difference, it tells us, is 10. So we're going to replace the d with a 10. And we're going to simplify. So this is negative 14. 2 minus 1 is 1, and then I have 1 times 10 is 10. Add those together, and I get negative 4. So what is a sub 2 equal to? Negative 4. So the second term is negative 4. All right, now we can find the third term. It says using the formula. Is there an easier way? Yes, but I want you to use the formula for right now. Okay. So what's the first term? Still negative 14 plus, what do I plug in for n this time? 3 minus 1 times, what's the common difference? 10. So I have negative 14. This is a 2 times 10 is 20. Negative 14 plus 20 is 6. So the third term is 6. Notice, what did we add to get from here to here? We added 10. What did we add to get from here to here? So what's the next term going to be? 16. Could you guys work it out using the formula? Yes. Okay. All right, example 2. Find the 25th term of the arithmetic sequence whose first term is 12 and whose common difference is -6. They're giving us everything we need. We just plug it into the formula. So you have to know the formula. A sub n equals A1 plus n minus 1 times D. Be sure you know it. So Fabio, what should I plug in for A sub, what's this little n going to be? Yep, I want the 25th term. So my little n is 25. And then A1, Ben, what's A1? Good. Plus, and now for n, Devin, what do I plug in? Good. And my common difference, Anna, D, what do I plug in? Good. So I have 12 plus, this is going to be 24 times -6. And that ends up being 144 right there. It's a -144. And that would be -132. So the 25th term is -132. If we were to start with 12 and subtract 6 25 times, right? Okay. So arithmetic means all the terms in between the first and the last term of an arithmetic sequence. So it says put 3 arithmetic means between 2 and -4. There are 2 ways to do this. I'm going to show you both. So this first term is always A sub 1, and I want you to label these underneath. The second term of any sequence that's arithmetic is A sub 1 plus D. You just add the common difference one time, right? This is the first term. I'm going to put a little 1 up here. This is the second term. All right, so the third term, for the second term we only added 1 D. For the third term, how many D's do we add? 2 D's. It's always 1 less, okay? And for the fourth term, we would add 3 D's. And then this would be the fifth term right here, which they already gave us. This would be A1 plus 4 D's. Notice it is 1 less than the term number that you're on for the number of differences that you're adding, right? So we can start by writing out what we know. A1 is equal to 2. And we also know the fifth term, right? This always represents the fifth term. This little formula right here in any arithmetic sequence is the fifth term. So I know that the fifth term is equal to -4. And so then I can substitute in a 2 right here for A1. And I can solve for my common difference. That's -6. And let's reduce that to -3/2. Or -1.5 if you like decimals. So now I need to find all 3 answers. By the way, there are only 3 answers. Don't include the first and the fifth in your answers. It says put 3 arithmetic means between those 2 numbers, right? So perfectly spaced apart. So what's 2 minus 1.5? 0.5. And what's 0.5 minus 1.5? And what's -1 minus 1.5? And -2.5 minus 1.5 is -4. So only box these 3 answers because those are the only 3 answers. Do you guys want to know the shortcut? Yeah. Me too. So you guys can do the slope of these. So we have this guy minus this guy. It's like an XY coordinate right here. Let's actually write it like that. The fifth term is -4, and the first term is 2. Because it's a linear function, they're equally spaced. This is a slope. That's what we're finding, the common difference. So all I have to do is the y minus the y over the x minus the x. So I could do -4 minus 2 over 5 minus 1, which gives me -6 over 4, which is -3/2. Is that easier? I think so. Okay, so there's the slope. That's your D or your common difference. You can do that every time. So write the first 5 terms of the arithmetic sequence in which A17 is negative 40 and A28 is negative 73. So the way that you guys learned this before, if I want to find the 17th term, you guys, what's the little formula that we use for the 17th term? Right? So it's exactly what I was doing up here, where I said A1 plus 4D is the 5th term. A1 plus 3D is the 4th term. A1 plus 2D is the 3rd term. So it's always one less. A1 plus 16D is the 17th term. And that is equal to negative 40. What's the little formula then for the 28th term? Good job. 1 less is equal to negative 73. I now have 2 equations and 2 unknowns. How could we solve this problem? Elimination would be ideal right here because you can already cancel these. So I'm just going to make all of these opposite signs. I'm going to multiply through by a negative 1, and I'm going to add down. So those cancel. And 16D minus 27D is negative 11D. And negative 40 plus 73 is 33. So my common difference is negative 11. Okay, we need to find the... Thanks, guys. Just seeing if you guys were with me. I know. Okay, so now you guys, we need the first 5 terms, right? And so I need to find a 1, so we can plug into either original equation. I'm going to go back to this guy right here, and I'm going to substitute in a negative 3, and I'm going to solve to get a 1. So this gives me negative 48 add 48 over to the other side, and that gives me 8. And we have our first term. We're supposed to find the first 5 terms. So what's the next term? 5. What's the next term? 2. What's the next term? Good job. So just subtract 3 every time once you get your first term. Okay, anybody know a faster way to find the slope? Well, instead of doing this, you can just say, well, the 17th term is negative 40. And the 28th term is negative 73. So why don't I just do the y minus the y over 28 minus 17, and you're going to get negative 3. It saves some time, and it makes more sense. Yeah, it's a little easier. All right, number 5. Find the 8th term of an arithmetic sequence whose first term is negative 8 and whose 5th term is 1. Okay, find the 8th term of an arithmetic sequence whose first term is negative 1 and whose 5th term is 1. So we already know that A5 is 1. So we should probably find the common difference. Should we do a slope again on this? You want to practice it? The 8th term is negative 1. That is like the 0.8 negative 1, right? And then we've got the 5th term is 1. So let's do our slope to find our common difference. So 1 minus negative 1 over 5 minus 8. Just make sure you go in the same order. The 8th term who is negative 1, and the 5th term, oh, thanks guys. The struggle is real today. All right, find the 8th term of an sequence whose first term, there we go, yay. All right. So we get 2 over 4, and so our common difference is 1/2. Now let's find the 8th term. I was just really excited about that. So the 8th term, we now know the first term is negative 1, so that gets plugged in for a sub 1 plus, and then the formula says n minus 1. What goes in for n? 8 minus 1 times the common difference that we just found thanks to the slope, which is 1/2. So I have negative 1 plus, this is a 7 times 1/2, which is 7/2. And so this is negative 2 over 2, which is 5 halves. So the 8th term is 5 halves. Okay, find the 10th term of an arithmetic sequence whose first term is that and whose 6th term is that. So you guys, we just need to find D again. Let's do it the slope way. The first term is 3x plus 2y. And the 6th term is 8x plus 12y. So I'm going to do the y minus the y. I'm going to start with this y, and I'm going to subtract this y. So I have 8x plus 12y. When I subtract this, you guys, you got to subtract the whole thing. Negative 3x minus 2y. Everybody good with that? And then I'm subtracting the x minus the x, so 6 minus 1. So I have 8x minus 3x, which is 5x. And I have 12y minus 2y, which is 10y, all over 5. So this divides nicely. 5 divided by 5 just gives us an x, and 10 divided by 5 gives us a 2y. So there's our common difference. Now let's find the 10th term. So we have a sub 10. And first is always a1, so my first term is this, 3x plus 2y, plus n minus 1, so 10 minus 1, times our common difference, which I just found, and work out all of our algebra. So this is a 9, and the 9 is going to distribute right here. So it's 9x plus 18y. And that gives me 12x plus 20y. So there are two ways for finding any slope when you guys do this. You can use the little formulas that I showed you right here, or you can just do slope, which is probably faster. All right, you guys, find the first 4 terms in A20.